Hi, my name's Camilla and I'm the founder of Figiverse. Figiverse was born out of a recognition that yellow isn't a neutral color. Now, a lot of people might disagree with that, but if I were to ask you what ethnicity this family are, what would you say? You might have said they could be any ethnicity, fine. But then I would ask, in that same show, why are these characters not yellow? And when you start to look at it, you really start to realize that while often people say yellow is a neutral color, we can all agree that actually it rarely is. When I started building my kit, I realized just how hard it was to find pieces that were more representative of some of the communities that I was working with. I wanted to ensure representation and ensure that everyone felt seen, which I realized very quickly was going to be really difficult. The first challenge was in looking for black and brown heads. These existed, but they were really rare and hard to find. The ones that I could find were NBA players or Raj from the Big Bang Theory. They were specific people. They weren't the general heads that you could see in the rest of the Lego collection. The other thing that became quickly apparent was a lot of these heads were double printed, happy and angry. Now, that leads into a whole stereotype that I didn't want to perpetuate. And so I had to get my first set custom printed. This meant finding my heads and taking them to a dealer to get them printed. The other part of the challenge was finding hands. If you're gonna have a black or brown head, it's really important that the hands match. And again, these were really, really hard to find. And often I find myself having to pull yellow hands off a torso to be able to replace them hands that I've managed to source from my dealer. And I find it really frustrating that these pieces are still so hard to get. Today, you can get a bigger range of different color heads and hands, but it's still not as available as it should be. From time to time, the Lego website changes what's available. And so great bricks, often heads are discontinued. And so I have to then go to dealer websites to find some of those heads. The first time I Googled Lego Afro, a pink clown wig came up. If we continue with the idea that yellow is a neutral color, where are the Afro or the textured hair? Hair representations are of European or white hair. And again, it just reinforced the fact that there is so little representation within the Lego world. Today, again, that's different. You can purchase different hairstyles. Some of the most popular ones in my kit are space buns and braids. I've also seen a few of these starting to pop up in kits, which is great because it's starting to bring that representation into the wider world, but they're still not as common as some of the traditionally Western white hair. Representation goes far beyond skin color and race. As I broadened my search for pieces to represent different identities, I came across Lego wheelchairs. I love these, they're great, but I also found that they were only actually included at that point in one Lego set. Made them virtually impossible to get hold of. Again, I had to source different pieces to put them together. Each wheelchair cost £5 to create and produce, making it again entirely inaccessible to a huge portion of the population. Beyond the wheelchairs, it was really hard to find any pieces that were representative of other identities. More recently, things have started to improve. There are now hearing aids, which are part of the Figiverse kit, cochlear implants, and even guide dogs. Every piece in the Figiverse kit is picked in an intentional way to make sure that we can represent as many identities as possible. All the way down to recognizing that some identities can't be shown in pieces that we put in the kit. And so we've worked hard to include other pieces that can help to represent some of those more hidden identities. Things like the LGBTQ flag or the sunflower symbol to represent those with disabilities that might not be able to be recreated in Lego or might be invisible. A slightly smaller piece that is probably less well known, we've included spoons, to represent those with chronic illnesses who sometimes refer to themselves as spoonies. There are lots of ways to include representation, just about finding the pieces, and some of them are easier to find than others. During a recent workshop, a participant who was a hijab wearer picked up a hood from the kit. And she said, "This is me, I can use this as a hijab." Now, I can't say that these pieces were made as hijabs, but equally, For this participant, that's what it represented. And so we also include these in the kits for people to use if they feel like those represent them. We know these kits aren't perfect, and we are continually trying to find new pieces to put into the kits. Not every identity is represented. This is just a small step. And whether the kit is going into an office environment, out for an event, or even to a family or a child, it can be used in a wide variety of situations. And it stands in its own right. Not only is it for people with those identities, but it's also for the people around them to see those pieces and start that conversation. We often people say in workshops, wow, I hadn't seen this before. Or start a conversation about whether yellow is a neutral color or not. That's equally important part. Start conversations where people might not traditionally have had those conversations. It's to show representation to groups of people who aren't traditionally represented in the world around them. We're always looking to expand the pieces that we have. And if you've got ideas or thoughts or pieces that you'd really love to see, please let us know. It's a journey and we're always looking to improve.